keep doing it there. soon out. Well, if you haven't already seen the introduction to this demolition project on the other channel, I uploaded a video in the last day or two, and the reaction from you guys was mixed, but primarily confusion, and I think a lot of unsubscribers actually just couldn't believe that I would tear that longhouse down after all the work and effort we put into it. And the reason for that, I think, is because I didn't really give a full explanation for the reasoning behind it. I mentioned that it was not going to get used and that it was just tying up resources that could be utilized somewhere else, which is the truth. I'll do my best to explain what's going on, but I have to admit that in this video, there's just not going to be enough time to share the entire story. I'll do my best, but I'm going to continue. If you go to the other channel, you'll see, first of all, how I talked about so far, about the longhouse and why I demolished it. And then I'll talk on that channel, I think, a lot more in detail about why I'm moving, what forced me to do, take such drastic measures, and I'll share a little bit more about what's going on in the future. This channel, as you know, I like to show you what I've been doing throughout the week and share nature with you, and kind of provide an escape, I guess, for not only for yourself but for me as well, who likes making those videos. I really enjoy spending time in nature. I like to do it silently. I feel like sharing this with you, the immersion in nature, and hope that you're getting something out of that, and hope that brightens your day a little bit. So like I said, I'll go to the other channel and just talk a lot more like I do in all my videos there, just to explain it. Now, if you've never been to that channel, the link is always in the description below each of these videos, and then I'll provide a couple of more visible links so that you can follow your way there. The channel's just called Sean James. Anyway, just quickly, I guess, going back to some videos in the last couple of years. One, I talked about the outpost camp, which is almost a full 2 years ago. So this is the forest that I'm going to be spending a lot more time in starting later this year or early next year. This is where I'm going to build my outpost camp, which is essentially my hunt camp that's further back away from the cabin, that I can access during especially, well, a couple different periods of the year. First of all, around the cabin itself, there's just a limit to how much game I can harvest from the surrounding land around the cabin. Even though it's vast territory that's open and undeveloped to the west of me, I need to get back into there far enough to get into different populations of game. Hey Kelly, you having fun? So this is about almost an hour away from the cabin by snowmobile, which goes back to the question I had earlier about why I should get a snowmobile and or an ATV, but especially a snowmobile, to get back further into the country and to harvest fishing game from a wider area rather than just from the cabin area. So this is the woods that I was talking about, the forest. And what I was going to be doing at that property, or more remote property, bigger property. And at the time, what I had talked about doing made sense before all of these things happened. Now, the other thing I talked about over the last couple of years is security and privacy issues that we've had. I guess more specifically, one of the few neighbors, you would think getting out into where I am, that you wouldn't have to worry about disgruntled neighbors. But anyway, one particular neighbor is making life difficult. Ended up having to get the police involved this spring, and what we found out through the police was something discomforting enough that my wife and daughters did not want to spend any more time at the cabin, to put it that way. Anyway, that was something that's been going on for actually almost the full 3 years. It wasn't really impacting me too much as brushing it off, and it wouldn't be something that would force me to move. Now, very recently, so basically since March, what's happened is there seems to be an exodus. Migration of people from the city into these more remote areas, into rural areas and country settings, and the result of that is real estate's been skyrocketing as people have been snapping this stuff up. but they're moving further and further out of the cities. And what the result is that this remote property, somewhere that it was very sparsely developed to the point where that's why it's not organized, not an organized township. People have moved in such great numbers that the whole area is getting developed. So the silence that I experienced when I first moved in 3.5 years ago is not that anymore. And it's a lot, just, I don't know, very, very frustrating. And I appreciate that I was one of the ones who caused that as well. As I moved from where I used to live to the remote countryside, I had an impact on the natural environment, but also on the neighbors that were there previously who had complete solitude. So I was the first, I guess, of many, and now there's so many that's almost as busy as where I left. So we've made the decision to move on. But more specifically, even more specifically than that, because it seems kind of selfish, I guess, to move in and establish myself and put down some roots and then to just pick up and leave. The main issue that just came to light fairly recently, which is why I stopped working on the cellar and the workshop by the pond, is that this happened. What you're looking at here is survey markers. So in Ontario, most of the land here has been divided up into 100-acre parcels. So it's about 1,300 feet wide, typically frontage, typically a road frontage, and then about 3,300 feet deep, roughly. And it's in a grid pattern. So essentially, you have a road, and then you have these long parcels, 100-acre parcels coming off of that. Now, when there's not a road that's been developed, they leave a road allowance. The surveyors originally left road allowances between each major parcel. So there might be two back-to-back 100-acre parcels, so about 6,700 square or linear feet, front to back with the two properties. Then they would put a road allowance 66 feet wide all the way down that grid line. And what that allowed is for future development. So you can develop those roads as a municipality as the municipality grows and gets developed, and run driveways off of those new roads. Well, right behind my property, which I never in a million years thought that was ever going to be an issue, there is a road allowance, and then the crown land starts. The road allowance goes across some wetlands and stuff, so not easy to turn into a road. And with all the crown land beyond, you wouldn't think there would be any reason. As it turns out, there's a 100-acre parcel back in the back corner, off the back corner of my property, and that owner has decided he's going to move here, like a lot of people moving out of the city, moving to their rural properties. And in order to access his property, the other access, the far end, is not easy to develop either, or to improve the roadway. So this is his shortest distance to get back there, and the easiest because it's relatively flat, except for a couple of low wet areas, like right where the dam is, where I've had my trail camera for 4 years and filming all the wildlife and everything right by the cabin. Driveway's going right through there. So that's fine if you're okay, and most people are, just to live, a country lifestyle and probably embrace the community and be happy that there's other like-minded people living close by, so you can kind of rely on each other. My self-reliance, I named it that for a reason. I just prefer solitude. I prefer to do things alone. I don't like crowds. I don't like noise. And it's just that whole scenario, just imagining the construction of a driveway going right past the cabin, right past the longhouse, it's not something I can live with. Now, I'm not going to let anything go to waste. I have the buildings here. I have the pond. I have the clearing. Somebody is going to really enjoy those things in the future once I officially move out, but it's not going to be me, and it's not I don't know, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure what's going to happen, to be honest. Main point, I guess, is specifically regarding the longhouse, is that the longhouse does not make sense for anybody who's going to be using the property. And even if it did eventually, when's that going to be? After it begins to rot. So despite the fact that I do not need more trees back here, I do not need those logs and the bark, I don't want to see them go to waste. It's a pain for me to get them back here with the four-wheeler or the snowmobile. But again, I just don't want them to go to waste. All the hard work that the guys put into building that thing with me and gathering the materials, I'm not going to let that go to waste. So I'm shipping them out here with me, a bit at a time, and I'm going to utilize them, and then I'm going to responsibly collect materials from all the land that I'm sitting on here to rebuild the homestead and build it actually. Now that I know what I'm doing with my life, I know that I need all of these things full time. I know what I need to survive for my family as well, what we need for infrastructure, and I need to build them more efficiently. I want to lower my energy consumption, lower my requirement for firewood and stuff like that, utilize the sun a lot more, and big thing is not having to go into town. So making sure that I've got the solar power that I need here to do everything I need to do here as much as possible. And to be honest, going into town for me is not something I enjoy with everything that's going on right now. And I can avoid that as much as possible. So, long-winded way of saying, welcome to the new homestead. You've seen clips of this for 2 years now, of this place. You've seen more clips of me over the last several weeks right here with this stream. And, you know, once I get to show you around a little bit more, you'll understand why I chose specifically this cabin location and why I built this bridge going across the little island here. And I'm sure you can see I'm standing over top of a year-round stream, which is a real bonus for me. Something I didn't have year-round full-time. It was good water, good access to water. And I have a spring too, so clean drinking water. So I'm really happy about this, really excited. There's been times over the last couple of years where people have been commenting on my mood, noticing that I was not, didn't seem to be as happy or as focused, that I was starting projects, not finishing them. It's been going through my head for a couple of years now, whether I wanted to continue here or not. Thought I could make it work, didn't want to give up, didn't want to be a quitter, but in the long run, this is the right decision for me. Getting the four-wheeler and the snowmobile factored into this decision to move here, but also buying those to begin with, where I would not have bothered if I wasn't visiting this property more often. So I'm still going back to using mainly hand tools, and I'm not into pleasure snowmobiling or ATVing, so it really is, they're just workhorses for me. Once I'm here, they get parked, and then I just go off and do everything else on foot. Oh, so the workshop, obviously, for that reason, is not at the cabin. That's why you still see the tripod set up and the foundation logs by the pond there. That will be for the new people who move in. That'll be for some future building right there on the pond, some development around the pond or something. But I moved on. I moved mentally on, started building the workshop, and I'm keeping things small. I want a small footprint ecologically and time and effort for myself. So I'm not going to go overboard here. Anyway, that's why you've seen so much disjointed activity from me over the last couple of years, but completely different this year. And yeah, just had to share that with you. I'm really relieved to get it off my chest, honestly, and I'm really excited for this new change. Some snow buntings flying through. Anyway, welcome to the cabin.